My name is Nasir Qureshi, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a real estate agent, author, and a certified solar advisor. Can you hear me and see me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we have a special guest, Attorney Rex A. Mann. How you pronounce Mann or Mann?
Man.
Mann. Okay, man. Fantastic. And we have Mr. Rashid Ansari. So, Mr. Rashid, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday call. And tell me a little bit about yourself, Mr. Rashid.
I'm a master inspector. I do home inspections, mold, termite, pest, uh, code inspections, new construction phase inspections, and miscellaneous.
Fantastic, Mr. Rashid. Thank you so much for joining. And you definitely have a very big, high profile when it comes to inspection. And Attorney Rex and I, we were just talking about the mold and things like that. And Attorney Rex, so um, what is your name of firm? You're a lawyer. Tell a little bit about yourself before we do a detailed interview.
Yes, sir. So my name is Rex Mann, and I am a managing partner at Mann Phillips PLLC, located in Houston, Texas, specifically in the Galleria area, just behind the Marathon Oil Tower. And I've been in Houston my whole life. I went to law school here. I practice real estate law, a bit of estate planning and probate. And specifically in real estate, I do boundary disputes, title disputes, construction defect, landlord tenant, pretty wide range of topics. We started the firm in 2019, right when I graduated. I don't like working for other people. I found, especially lawyers, were the worst. And so I said, hey, let me go work for myself. And my partner and I, Brian Phillips, started the firm in 2019, and we never looked back, and we've had a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you for being over here, and as well as Mr. Rashid Ansari for being. So I'm developing this new series on every Wednesday. We call it Wisdom Wednesday for all real estate professional realtors or whatnot. And we bring a special guest like you to give some expertise. So uh, before I go further, I have to give you a compliment on this special mustache and
Thank you, sir.
how and when.
Well, I was looking actually at your Facebook, and I've got to say, you've got a wonderful beard when you grow it, sir. It's a quite nice. But my mustache, I had beards forever, and I wanted something that would set me apart and give me a slightly more professional look. I've trimmed it recently because ordinarily it'll be a little bit more out in Western style. But I just enjoy it. My great uh, I guess favorite president, if you will, was Teddy Roosevelt, and he's my inspiration for starting the mustache life. And it's the best way to live, I find.
Yeah, it's very suitable to you, and it's with your last name, and it really definitely is working for you. It
Thank
stands
you,
out.
thank you, sir.
Yes. So I know we talk a little bit, but now we're doing recording. So uh tell me at your law firm or in areas of law that you practice, what area of law do you practice generally, or you have a passion for some area of law. Law is so vast. Like I say, it's vaster than seven oceans. I have a
Yes.
background of 16 years of being a senior litigation paralegal. So law is massive from A through Z. What is your passion and what do you do at your law firm?
Well, even to your point, even within the world of litigation, you have such a wide range of things that you can do. And it really runs the gamut. I have 72 to 74 active cases at any
I'm not sure what happened. The screen is frozen here. Some technical difficulty. Uh-oh. I think, Mr. Ansari, can you hear me?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, my apologies. I don't know what happened. Uh, what
Well, it
happened?
might have been on my end. You know how these these connections can be funny sometimes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Where
Sorry.
did I lose you?
So I asked you the question that what areas of law, and you were telling me about the litigation also has different parts of litigation in different areas of law.
Yes, sir. It can be wide ranging. And so my docket can be, I can have anywhere from 72 to 74 cases at a given time. And it's just a constant, it's like being a litigation attorney. And you probably, you know this from being a litigation paralegal. It's like being in a washing machine of just constant intake of new people's issues, pushing through the difficult parts of the lawsuit, getting to either a settlement or a trial, doing the trial, and constantly having that flow. It's a wild experience, that's for sure. But in particular, the type of law that I really enjoy is helping tenants in relation to habitability issues when their landlords fail to maintain a habitable condition, or Chapter 92 of the Texas Property Code. And Mr. Ansari actually probably deals with this to an extent in relation to mold. The overwhelming majority of cases I get from folks are instances where they have a severe, medium to severe mold infestation, including large amounts of cladosporium, aspergillus, Penicillium aspergillus, Stachybotrys, and in varying amounts can be quite dangerous to your overall health. And it's really not an area a lot of people are doing anything about, and there's really not a lot of knowledge on the part of tenants about what their rights are and how dangerous it can be. And so, um, helping people avoid catastrophic uh, damages to their health, but also making sure that they're in a safe environment, that they are not cross contaminating their new environment, that they're not getting an eviction on their record. Because quite often, what will happen is tenants will stop paying their rent because their landlord will not maintain the condition in the property. They say, "Well, I'm not going to pay you then," and
Right.
unfortunately, those covenants are separate. And so what'll happen is, even though they have an excellent claim over here for the property claim, because they don't pay their rent, they get evicted. And by the time they come to me, they're already in a really bad spot. So it's a lot of education. I'm passionate about helping people. I thought when I was young, all I cared about was money. But then I worked as an intern for an insurance defense firm, and I realized that I actually have a soul, something of a soul. And so I've been very passionate about that. That's my favorite area.
That's very good. And mostly, so you would be on mostly on plaintiff side, correct?
Overwhelmingly, I would say about 90%.
90%. And in a cases like this, the statute limitation for filing the lawsuit is still 2 years.
Well, actually, so I'm not filing a personal injury claim.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would argue that it actually would be 4 years.
Mm,
Uh, and because uh, it goes under the contract. You could do it under the contract because the warranties, or the leases, will ordinarily have them in there, so you could do it under 4 year.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's really not an issue in these cases, because
Okay.
when the people come to us, they're currently in the lease. And so as opposed to if, let's say, they have notice of an offending condition, to your point, in a personal injury case, they wait 2 years, even if it's still going on, they're poured out. But the ongoing violation by the landlord, we can actually accrue damages
Hmm.
through the entirety of the lease. We can get into, there's nuances to it, but I would say 4 years, and usually in these cases it doesn't really apply.
Okay, great. And I think I saw it on your website. You also your law firm also does title work, correct?
Yes, so we are fee attorneys associated with InFocus Title, and we do closing. So in the normal way that you would experience a closing, say if you went straight to a title company, we have a 35-year escrow officer in our office. We receive the contracts, we receive the earnest money, we open title, we do all of the normal things to clear Schedule C, we hold the escrow, distribute funds, all the normal stuff you expect. I think that the added benefit with us is though, when you get to Schedule C and there's an issue, whereas the title company throws their hands up and says, I can't do anything. We have a law firm. I have a bar card in my pocket that I can pull out. Hey, I can fix those things.
Correct.
So we bring that added value of fixing problems. I like to think of I'm really interested in solving problems, and we do a good job of that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the analytical, finding problem, solving problem, and working with the lawyers, hiring a lawyer, law firms, that's the way to go.
Hey, I don't disagree.
So, do you often, Mr. Rashid, go ahead, please. I'm glad you have a question or comment. Please go ahead, Mr. Rashid.
No, I was clapping.
Oh, you were
Thank you.
clapping. But hop in if you have any question and feel free your comment or anything. Just unmute you and please. So, so Attorney Rex, my goal is here in this program is to give a lot of value, right? And we're so fortunate to have you and Mr. Rashid here with us right
Thank you.
now. And I'm going to record, we are recording this and I'm try to put it on YouTube. I'm new to all this thing, learning as I go. So maybe down the road in the YouTube, some realtor or real estate professional will watch this. So I'm getting to now area where do you often get calls from real estate professionals or a real estate agent asking you some questions, the common questions, and what kind of questions that you would normally get from a real estate agent?
Yes, I get a lot of calls from real estate agents. A lot. A large amount of my business actually comes from real estate agents. I wish they would call me to say, Rex, we just don't like our title company and we'd love to come do all our closings with you. But ordinarily, that's not what they do. They bring me their problems. And
Problems, right? I
right.
agree.
But that's we love problems. We love solving problems. And often it can run a wide range. It can be issues where there was if they were the seller, excuse me, the buyer agent, they'll come to us about things that they discovered were not disclosed in the seller's disclosure. We can find information about title disputes or issues that came in with the closing because they didn't do
Mhm.
the closing through a title insurance company. There can be claims that where the title insurance company is not being forthright in communicating with them about a potential claim. It really is a wide range. And sometimes we have agents calling us because they are now in a dispute with their client.
Client, yeah.
Yes.
Give me an example. That's a good one, interesting one. If I'm not pushing that far,
Oh, no
with that.
problem. No problem. So, um, yeah, it can be things where the client is claiming that the agent did not disclose certain information to them about the transaction,
Oh,
that they're alleging they withheld something that caused damages to the client, disputing their payment, disputing and it can also be issues where the agent is being put in a difficult position or being asked to do things unethically, and so they are withdrawing. It can be, it really runs, and that's why I always tell, just to that point, I always tell agents that it's very important. I actually have like a few, if you don't mind, I have a few kind of things I recommend to them.
I would please go ahead, take your time. This is
Sure.
your show.
Oh, well, okay. So the first thing that I always tell agents is uh I know I was watching your last episode and I noticed you mentioned how saturated the market is
Yes,
with real estate agents, and that's so true. Um, it takes time to build a brand like you have and to develop a client base, and it takes patience and hard work. And and one of the things, and it's not just for real estate agents, but just business owners in general or
for
professional
anything,
people
any business. Yeah,
for anything. But it's being picky about who you hire or who you let hire you rather,
correct.
because you know if if they are not aligned with your values and they are not good communicators, they don't seem like they're going to be ethical. Even if they're wrong about the way they feel about you, that's a bad review. If they,
Yes,
most people that love your work tell like one or two people, but if they hate your work, they'll tell 10. There's that old adage.
right.
So being really careful about picking your clients and then having those tough upfront conversations. Don't let the fact that there's a lot of agents out there make you feel like you have to scramble. Pick the right clients so you can have the right relationships and have those tough upfront, especially when you're on this is for sellers agents. When you're with the sellers, um, it's important to tell them, hey, if you're if you've got something going on in this house, I need to know. And if and your potential buyer needs to know. Because the biggest area where we see suits related to the traditional residential transactions, is failure to disclose
Disclose. Okay. From the sellers. Yeah.
from the seller. Yeah. And so if your client lets you know as a seller's agent that there's something wrong in the house and they don't want you to tell the other side, or they're directing, or you know that they're not willing to put something on the seller's disclosure, fire that client
Immediately. And document
immediately
that.
and
Document that.
document
Absolutely. Ab-
absolutely document it, because you have a duty as an agent to be transparent and disclose information, and if you don't, you are actually uh, conspiring and aiding in that fraudulent behavior. Not only could you lose your license that you've worked so hard to get, but you could
Correct.
also run into a situation where you're now on the hook for damages that you may not receive proper. Your insurance provider might not cover you. It damages your reputation, and in this business, reputation is everything.
Everything.
Yes, and to your point, sir, I would say it's not just, you know when you put as much as you can in writing.
Hmm.
Every time you get off the email, or you have the phone with them, email them, keep a record, a log of everything that you're doing. And here's another thing. I don't normally recommend that you walk around thinking that you're always going to get into a lawsuit. And I don't recommend that you record every conversation you have. But Texas is a one-party consent state.
Hmm.
So long as you are a party to that conversation, you have the right to record communications between yourself and a third party, whether that's over the phone or in person. And if you start to think that your client is going to try and put you in a funny situation, or is going to start saying something contrary to what they're saying now, go ahead and record that conversation and put it in a file. Maybe you don't need it, but if you do, it would be an opportunity to go past the hearsay rules and evidence, because, well, he told me this. Well, you can pick up your phone and you can press play for the jury. And that is really powerful evidence. So I always recommend, if things are starting to get, if you feel like you need to record the conversations, it's probably not a client you want to keep. But
Right.
if you're anticipating that you might have litigation, I definitely recommend recording those conversations.
That's a big golden nugget that you just dropped. I mean, wow, And this question comes up. This question comes up about the recording all the time in any scenario, in any walk of life. And I mean, This is a huge golden nugget that you just shared with us. We appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. And just to be clear, because I want to make sure it's very clear,
Of
if
course.
if you if you record someone and you are not in a conversation, if you're not a part of it, so for example, if you're tapping someone's phone line, or if you're placing a recording device in a place where you're not participating in the conversation, that's not allowed.
Hmm.
You
I think the internet issue. Yes, we're back on. Just lost you. So you were clarifying that that is like placing a secret device or somewhere in a hidden place is not allowed. That's where
Right.
we're okay.
Right. You can't tap someone's phone. You can't leave a
Yeah,
recording device. Though that if you put something in their house and then you record a conversation later, that's not permitted. But so long as you're a party to the conversation. So for
conversation.
example, if we were having this recording right now and communicating, I could turn on my recording device now. Or if you were in my office and I had my phone in a drawer on a desk, or they've actually got really cool spy cam pins
Gadgets.
where
Yeah.
you can put it in your, it looks like a pin and it's got a camera. And um and so that is allowed. And it's Texas is the kind of state where your word is your bond. You shake hands. It's very in line with our traditions that if you're going to say something to someone, and then you should be expecting that it might be recorded.
Yeah. Very, very, very good point. Mr. Rashid Ansari, do you have any questions or any comments to Attorney Rex?
No, I'm enjoying the conversation and I'm listening.
All right, we're learning, huh? Yeah. So the biggest complaints among the real estate agents, in our circle, and also the biggest challenge, in a polite words, the biggest challenge that I personally have is the communication between the real estate agents. Oh my gosh, you know, uh,
Yes.
and I don't want to beat my own drum, but the way I learned in working with the lawyers, for 16 years is I love communication. I mean, when I'm on my desktop, I have WhatsApp, a window open, I have two emails open, two phones open, and I am just communicating, instant communication. That's how I learn. And I don't want to brag about myself, things like that, but it's a challenge. And the real estate school that I went to, and a lot of these contracts and transactions are very time sensitive that can trigger litigation, and that not proper notification. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I will. If you're gonna be shy about tooting your horn, I won't be, because in my communications with you, I have found you to be very responsive. You're very tech savvy, and you are usually, I mean, within moments available. And I can tell that communication is a passion of yours. I try to be, unfortunately in my field, sometimes I have to be in a mediation or a deposition, so I kind of
Correct.
get these blocked out periods, but you are very fast, and I think that's so important, especially in today's age. That's one of the things that really sets realtors apart is being there for the parties in real time to facilitate movement of the deal. And that is a huge complaint. I mean, we see that with brokers, and we also, as an attorney, I deal with that too. Some attorneys, I'm considered what I would call a bro. I'm a friendly guy. If when opposing counsel and I meet each other, I make friends with them. If they're a reasonable person, I try to make them an ally, um, even though we're in a fight, to find out the points where we can agree or disagree. And I think that it really is, it closely aligns to what you guys deal with, because you're in an adversarial situation, and um a lot of agents look at it as if you're in a battle. And finding ways to connect with the opposing agent or the opposite
Opposite
agent,
side, yeah.
yeah, opposite side, is crucial. Developing that initial rapport. I call it, every time I get into a lawsuit, when my client's being sued or opposing counsel is answered when we're filed, I schedule a call and I call them and I invite them to chat. If they're in town, sometimes I'll even invite them out to lunch.
Hmm.
So find ways to make them feel comfortable with you so that you can improve that communication. And you have a duty actually, uh, as an agent, to timely communicate. I believe that's part of your ethics.
Absolutely, it is. Oh, yes, it
Yes,
is. Absolutely.
yes. And ethics, I think that it's an important part of your ethical obligation because, as you mentioned, if there's a time is of the essence
It
or
is,
a
yeah. I mean,
deadline,
my
you
teacher taught us that, when you're sending something, most important documents, email, phone call, text message, all exhaust all remedies, as they say in the law, right? So we do that. There's some important stuff, text message, email, call.
yes, absolutely. And sometimes, um, did we lose me again?
No, 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 no. Go ahead, please. I
Okay,
can
I
hear
was
you
I was
clearly here.
okay, good. Um, and I think yes, I always say pick up the phone. People hate picking up the phone nowadays, but uh, calling I find is a very effective way. And then this goes back to the communication again. Hey, other agent, what is the best way to communicate with you? What times of day are best for you? And just take a short note of that, put it in your CRM system or whatever management software you're using,
Yeah,
and just kind of keep that in mind when you're communicating with people. Find them where they are easiest to be communicated with.
just ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometime, in our real estate school, they drill us big time, which is the right thing to do. The UPL, unauthorized practice of law, right? We got the promulgated forms, and there's a special provisions. And my teacher, one of my mentors, real estate, he owns a school in Austin and been a broker since 1984. And he said, don't touch special provisions at all. So for the special provisions form, I don't touch at all. So, the UPL things, but a lot of it,
It's dangerous. Yeah, you guys have a very difficult position where you're being asked to develop over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40 years a substantial amount of knowledge about real estate, not just in the market, but in many instances the laws. And I often say this, especially for good agents, you guys are walking a tightrope
fine line,
where
tightrope, yeah.
you're walking a tightrope where you see problems or you identify issues and you think or you very well may know what an issue is, but all of a sudden you're walking into that gray area or crossing a line and you don't want to do that. I actually think there should be, in all seriousness, I think there should be an advanced school, not a legal, not a law degree, but an advanced school with some form of certification to give a certain range of laws or communications that agents should be able to communicate about if they can prove that level of competency. Because I think it could hurt transactions because what it does is it makes agents pull back.
Yeah.
And we need them to be comfortable to communicate. And but that's where having a useful attorney
Mm-hmm.
in your bag of tricks is valuable because if you bring a contract to me, especially a TREC 1 to 4, I can look at it pretty quickly, and you tell me what you want to put in there. I can do that addendum for you all day and take me 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and that's where developing a relationship with a good real estate attorney as an agent, where you are bringing them business. It's title side's great, but also generally business. you will find that there are attorneys like myself who will reciprocate basic information. If I've got an ongoing relationship with someone like you, for instance, and you have a contract, Rex, I just need 2 sentences to say this. What should I put in there? That takes me 10, 15 minutes. It's no
Yeah.
problem. It's just like having a good CPA. I recommend finding a good real estate attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big believer of that. And I want to thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate that you're coming on. And do you have any advice? I know you gave general advice, and um, for 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 the real estate professionals overall, someone down the road that will see this in the YouTube or things like that, or and your
Yeah, hello,
website. Please give
hello
out the.
from the past. Hello from the past, realtor that is watching us on YouTube right now. I would say that just my general advice, whether you're an agent or whatever, is yeah, be passionate about what you do. Be honest. When we started my firm, I lived in a travel trailer in my friend's backyard. I didn't pay myself for the first year, and I just kept going, and I worked harder than everyone else, and I was honest, and I fought hard and won. And you can build a reputation in this industry, whether it's an agent or an inspector or an attorney, an author, whatever. If you just stick with it and you show people value, you can be, especially in real estate, there is so much opportunity. And people think, well, it's so saturated. No, that's actually good.
Yeah,
It's an opportunity to differentiate yourself and show your extra value. So
correct.
don't let the interest rates, don't let the, don't let the other agents crowd your vision. Stay in your lane and stay focused, and you can become a best-selling author.
Belief is very, very important. The mindset and belief. So you hinted on some humble beginnings. You have quite of a great story. I love the success stories like that.
Well, I don't want to imply that I was born. I grew up shoeless. My father took very good care of me. And I will say my father grew up very poor in East Texas. My entire family is from East Texas on my father's side, and they are humble, sweet people who have not had a penny in their pocket for generations. And he developed himself, and he taught me that if you work very hard and you're honest,
Hmm.
if you work harder than everybody else and you're honest, you will succeed. There's no question. It's just a question of when, and whether that's true or not. It seems to be working for me. But when I got out of school, I was on my own, and I did. My second fiance and I had just split up because she didn't want to go live in a rougher part of town. I was buying a large lot of land for very cheap, and I said I'm going to do it myself. And so we didn't end up together. And I just bought an old trailer, parked it in my of counsel's backyard. He let me stay there. I had 2 cats in there, uh, and I just said, and it's an adventure. It was fun. I wouldn't want to do it again.
Hmm.
Uh, I One time was good enough. But we did. We struggled. We worked 80-hour weeks, getting paid nothing for a year. But now we have 6 employees and healthcare. That's lovely,
Yeah.
uh, and we're very thankful.
Yeah, and I noticed that you recently traveled overseas, Vietnam, or I believe so.
Yes, yes. My wife is actually from Vietnam, and
Nice.
we met online. So I have a deep love for the Vietnamese people.
Hmm.
My I call them so I'm English, mostly English with Scottish I've actually got everything on that aisle, Welsh, Irish, everything, but I'm mostly Scottish and English. And I consider the Vietnamese to be like the Scottish of Asia,
Uh-huh.
in that they are constantly invaded and they are constantly harassed by foreign powers. And no matter how many times you knock them down, they will get back up and fight.
Strong people.
And strong people. Don't think for 1 second, just because they're skinny and quite often short, that they don't have the power of 1,000 suns inside them. And so, I've always respected them a lot growing up. My introduction to them was obviously, as most Americans, the war that we had with them. Again, ferocious fighters. And growing up in Houston, we have the third largest Vietnamese population in the country, and it's substantial. We have quite a few Vietnamese people here, and
Wow.
growing up around them, it's actually the third most spoken language in Houston,
Mm.
just behind English and
In
Spanish.
Spanish, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's a huge market of a lot of hardworking Vietnamese people, and that was the other thing, is you will not outwork a Vietnamese person. Of course, we're speaking in generalities, that there are differences in all kinds of people, but culturally, I find that, especially my wife from northern Vietnam, there there is nothing that makes my Vietnamese wife more upset than me trying to sit down and play video games on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, she expects me to be working tremendously hard, and so I did. I actually, when I met my wife, I met her online, and I spoke to her for 30 days online, and then flew there, spent 7 days with her and her family, and I put a ring on her finger.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, we became engaged. Then we were separated for 2 years because of COVID. Uh, but eventually we got her here, we got married, and yes, we do travel once a year. Eventually we want to retire there. The real estate is really interesting. Speaking of tying it back into real estate,
Right.
American foreigners cannot buy real estate in Vietnam.
Oh, really?
Yes, they
Wow.
cannot. What you can do in Vietnam is lease for
Hmm.
99 years,
I see.
which is not a great value proposition, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because you're now, unless you can outpace with whatever economic value you're going to get on top of that, or if you front load, for example, a payment and then have a lower payment going forward,
Right.
it's not the best investment strategy in my estimation. um, I recommend marrying a Vietnamese person if you want to do business in Vietnam,
Yeah.
uh, because my wife can own property there.
I
uh, and that's how we'll be buying it in Vietnam, not through me.
I see. I see. Okay. Good. Um, I and you're learning. I noticed on the social media you posted on some language app. You're trying to learn Vietnamese. How's that going? Vietnamese
It
language.
it's well, if you asked my wife, she would say
I'm sure she has a different opinion.
not well. Yes, I've studied about 250 days now, almost a
Okay.
year. I've learned about 320 words.
Oh, wow.
I love studying the language. I speak Spanish fairly well. It's much harder than Spanish. Um, and what makes it particularly difficult is Vietnamese is a very tonal language. And so, whereas we might have about, um, we could have somewhere in the ballpark of, or we just have a wide range of use of words. Um, if you were going to say door, there's door. If you want to say couch, there's couch. But for example, in Vietnamese, if you spell ban,
Hmm.
ban, depending on how you say it and use accents, it can be different things. So, for example, it can be you, it can be friend, it can be cake, it can be, like three or four other things. But if you say ban or ban,
Oh,
the way
wow.
you say it means a different thing. and that's horribly difficult for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's just I I had a German teacher. I tried when I was learning a little bit German, and he was like, he said English is like a language of robots. He said we just barely move the lips and nothing else. Okay, not
Yes.
but in other languages, a lot is involved. And I speak different languages too, like for example, Arabic or Hebrew, and even Dutch. A lot of
Wow.
throat is involved. The throat, bottom of the tongue, you bring the sound from chest up and neck up, and but this English is just like it's just barely lips are moving, nothing else is.
Yes. Well, as a Germanic language, is a Germanically rooted language, it is very similar. Yeah. That's really interesting. And so you speak Hebrew and Arabic
So I
as
speak a little bit Arabic, not Hebrew at all. Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, mostly subcontinent from India, Pakistan, and a couple of European languages. Yeah, conversational Spanish. I try to master my Spanish, and I tried the app. I was disciplined for a few months, and after that, I fell off.
yeah, you know, it
So
can be.
conversational Spanish and yeah, a few languages.
Oh, that's lovely. And what how often do you get a chance to use that in your business?
Often I do. I do often, yeah. I would like
Yeah.
to have it more. Yeah. Like someone contacted me from overseas. Somehow they got in contact and looked at. If you look at my profile, several languages. Sometime I got a I got a client from India one time because of the languages, the several languages I had in my Houston Association of Realtors
Well, and that's
profile.
that's another thing I think that I would push agents to do is to learn more languages because you don't have to learn. There is a range of communication that you can develop, and having the respect to speak to someone in their language can make a huge impact on your ability to get clients.
Mhm.
My Spanish is certainly not top notch, but I can speak conversation, I can read it, and when you show someone that respect, even just a few words, you can see it light up their face.
Oh, a huge difference. Huge difference.
Huge
Absolutely.
difference.
Yes, absolutely. Especially to Spanish speaking world. It shows them that we are giving them respect by, humbling ourselves, and we're going leaning towards them and being courteous to them. Those are the signals that we're giving and building the rapport.
Yes.
I'm very, very much big on building the rapport, and I have one of the mentors in the business world. Uh, in fact, I get an inspiration from him about writing books. His name is Tom Big L Schreider. He's an authority when it comes to direct selling world. He has written, I think, over 60 books and been in direct selling since 19 early 70s, inducted in International Hall of Fame. And he did a lot of work on books on bigalbooks.com. So he studies the psychology and how to speak to subconscious mind. And his teaching is building instant rapport for any business. For rapport is so important. If we don't have rapport, things bounce off.
Yes. Yes, keeping it light. I mean, I was just negotiating, so um it ties back to knowing languages ties back to the communication and communication with rapport. Uh, when I just helped a client negotiate a $40 million solar lease in South Texas, and we rather than take months to send red lines back and forth and miscommunicate and misunderstand intention and develop lack of trust. We literally got the on a video chat like this, Zoom, or it was a Teams meeting, and we negotiated the contract. I had the representative from the solar company, their attorney, my clients, the landowners, and myself, and we negotiated this multi-million-dollar contract in real time. There were times that we needed to separate for a few minutes to
Correct.
speak separately, but by having that collaborative, friendly approach, by developing a relationship with the other parties in the transaction, we built trust, not just for our side, but on their side. And we were able to cut through disagreements and misunderstandings so much faster and negotiated something that could have taken substantially longer, cost more money. It took a fraction of the time, and we got to a deal that everybody was happy with. I mean, I'm spectacularly happy for the family. This is good. This is a good day for them.
Yeah.
And we did it because we built that rapport. And that's, I think it goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time, is good, honest communication, leaning in, as you said, leaning into the person, humble yourself before them. And I think quite often you'll find that rather than the the implication that people think will occur is that they will be somehow perceived as weak, or they need to show some kind of forceful strength, you'll find you'll get a much better result by just being kind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that brings me, another point that why it is for average person when necessary or is important to hire a lawyer for to do the legal work or get a legal counsel, and why and how this is so important for people to have a realtor representing them in a real estate transactions. One of the reasons is because you are trained as an attorney, not only in the law, how to talk, how to represent, and the fiduciary duties, the ethics, building rapport, all these things uh, comes in play in the best interest of a client. And same for
Yes,
the real estate agent too. And a lot of people, lay people or average people, they don't just realize this, the importance of hiring an expert for of that profession is it is that important, you know.
it's crucial.
Uh,
It's crucial. I mean, the especially when we're talking about real estate, for the overwhelming majority of people, it is their largest asset.
yeah,
You've got to have someone who doesn't have the emotion
attachment.
attachment, because it
Yes,
clouds your judgment. I mean, for example, with my client, there were a couple times one of the family members on my client side brought up some excellent points. He's very analytical, but there were moments where emotion crept in,
right.
and and when 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 emotion starts creeping in on both sides, it is so important to have someone. People think that your attorney needs to bang the table and start yelling at the other side, and sometimes it's calming down your own client. Sometimes it's getting your client to look at the numbers or the facts.
Facts. Yeah.
That's where the professional realtor, the experienced realtor such as yourself, is so important
Yeah,
for us.
emotional attachment. That's why, I a long time ago, it's very common that, as we know, it's not a legal opinion because I can't give that, but everyone has a right to represent themselves in the United States, right? So,
Yes.
and for a common thing is the divorce, right? So someone filing divorce, okay, they prepare a divorce somehow, Google, whatever, and then they go file it, and the judge says, go hire a lawyer. Go hire because no, especially in family law, so many emotions are involved. So the
Yes.
best the judges recommend, go hire a lawyer. So the
Yeah,
lawyer will be
you don't want to represent yourself. And I'll as you know, for example, when we were talking about on evictions, um I'll go and try and work things out with the tenant, because if I can get them out of the house before the trial date, and they can avoid an eviction judgment on their record, and my client can get the house faster, I'm helping my client by not, because for example, if they're paying a mortgage on the property, they're not getting rent for that month. They're paying me to go to trial. Most often now after COVID, everybody appeals so that we lose another month. If they don't pay the deposit, then I have to go for a motion to get them out. You're going to look at 2, 3 months to get that person out, as opposed to perhaps 15 to 25 days. Now, you can't always guarantee that, but taking the emotion out of it and being able to come, and I did that. I actually recently did that in an eviction. We gave the tenant about 15, 20 more days. We got an agreement in writing that we were going to be able to get an immediate writ if they didn't get out by that date. And my client saved thousands of dollars. Um, and what it seemed like the thing that what they would want to do is just go straight for the suit. So being collaborative, but also trying to do it yourself. I have an opposing side, and I've told this to opposing sides when they don't want to play nice, when they're pro se by them, representing
Yeah.
themselves. I've won whatever how many trials I've won at that point. Now it's 13. I'll tell them I've won 13 trials. And my first loss is not going to be today, and it's not going to be to you.
Right.
And I recommend that you take this deal, not as your attorney, but as your opposing. Here's the deal I'm going to offer you. And if you don't take it, it's going to get really bad. And you cannot walk into that world with all of the goofy words and procedural things and expect to win. You just won't.
Yeah. I like that line. I like that punchline. That was good. I won 30 trials and I'm not gonna lose.
Yeah, I've never lost. I've never lost, and it's not going to be to you, and it's not going to be today. Now that's if I have to get tough. If they're being tough,
Exactly.
that's the other side of it. Is sometimes when you can't convince them the nice way, sometimes you got to get tough, and that usually doesn't work. But at that point, I don't really care, and it's it's time to knock some heads around for the. That's I'm often called a bulldog.
Yeah.
I got hired by somebody today because they heard from somebody else. If you need somebody to go knock them around, I've got a mustache for you, and I'll be your mustache.
Okay. Great. So we have next 5 or 6 minutes. I'm very time cautious and try to keep things organized. So we have last few minutes. So what is Attorney Rex personal opinion and an Attorney Rex professional opinion about being an Estonian and being a Texan? When is a good time to buy a real estate? The magic question that everyone wants to ask this question and wants to know about it. What is your personal and professional opinion? When is a good time to buy real estate?
Uh, as a Houstonian and as a Texan, as a real estate attorney, as an investor myself, uh, as whatever other superlative or adjective, my answer is always right now. There's never you do not look at the interest rates, do not look at the prices, do not look at the changes. Now, does that mean that when interest rates go really high or prices become inflated for whatever reason, you're in a boom period? I'm not saying make sure you get a high interest rate and go purchase a house that's too expensive. But what I'm saying is there are always deals. You just have to find them. And so being passive and not looking at trying to find opportunities, it doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter what the interest rate is, it doesn't matter what the prices are. If you're not paying attention, it's never a good time because you don't know what you're doing. And so finding a good agent that understands the market, that understands your needs and what you can afford, is really good. If you want, especially if you're on the buyer's side, you got nothing to lose. The seller is the one that's paying that commission, and so don't if you're looking to invest with an agent, go out there and start the process. You're always in the getting qualified for loans, finding deals that are cash available, hard money lenders. There's always fix and flips. If there's always opportunity. So my answer, long-windedly, is right now, always.
I agree 100%. This is a really great advice that right now is the best time to do the real estate. In COVID pandemic, when all that started, COVID, and the interests were all-time low, do you know that 67% people in the United States did not refinance their home for the lower interest?
Wow. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
So I had one car financed at that time. I didn't even refinance it at that time, and I think I was paying for old loan, and my credit was bad at that time, so uh, I could have gotten a lower interest. So press release, another big one from FHA, Federal Housing Authority. FHA released a press release, I think last month, that in 2023, over 756,000 home loans that they have given out this year already, over
Wow.
750 plus thousand, and their insurance and funding is still standing strong. Any personal opinions or any anticipation or any guesses about interest rates or what's going to happen in 2024?
To be honest with you, that's what I would do, just put my finger in. I have no idea. If I did, I'd be getting paid a lot more. I'd have a lot more money than I do.
Right.
I'm hearing we might see some lower interest rates. But that's speculation. You never know.
Great. If someone wants to find you, how should they find you? On
Yes,
Google,
sir.
or your phone number, website,
Our
give
website is manphillipsplc.com. You can find me directly, and my direct line is at the office is 713-401-1106, and my email address is rex@manphillipsplc.com.
appreciate that. Mr. Rashid Ansari, our master inspector, please, can you unmute yourself and thank you for being here. And can you give, if someone wants to contact you for inspection, you do both inspections, right? Residential and commercial, Mr. Ansari? You do residential and commercial, correct?
That is correct.
And if someone wants to contact you in the future, how they should contact you? You want to give a shout out to your contact information, phone number, website, what to Google for you?
Absolutely. My phone number is 713-865-3722 and web address www.2-inspect.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'm going to share with you our next guest speaker, which will be the last Wednesday of the year, Wisdom Wednesday, is going to be, I'm going to share with you just a moment, is going to be Mr. Boris Sanchez. He is a broker, investor, lender. He's an expert uh, especially when it comes to multifamily unit space. He owns about over 1,500 units, multifamily units, done in 13 years of career, over $1 billion in real estate transactions. Oftenly, he's sought after, going in conventions as a guest speaker, training. So it'll be Mr. Boris Sanchez will be our special guest for the last Wisdom Wednesday of 2023. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you coming and for your time, Attorney Rex and Mr. Rashid
Pleasure.
Ansari. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.